Hey gang, Drex here from DrexFactor.com, and today I wanted to talk about a question that I see pop up really frequently in online groups as well as Q&A sessions. How do I find the right prop for me? So many of us see our friends or people online diving into props and just doing amazing work with them. How do you find that tool for which you either have a natural talent or that makes you want to keep on practicing to get better? Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Darkmonk, Emazing Lights, Flowtoys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping make the videos on this channel possible. You can visit them all on the web by following the links down in the description of this video. I've definitely noticed certain personality types being drawn to certain props over the years. We all know the stereotype of the uber-competitive young man diving into poi or juggling, sensitive and nurturing young women taking up hoop, and people with an interest in just dancing with a fire prop in their hands picking up fans or palm torches. In a lot of cases, you can just check what props your friends in the flow community spin to get a bearing on what you might like to spin yourself. Sounds pretty simple, and that's because it is. Because frankly, I think the question itself is a red herring. I think we often have an assumption that when we find the right prop for us, that we'll quickly achieve great things with it, or the work with the prop won't feel like work. This is how we know that the prop is the right one for us, and that assumption right there is the problem that keeps people from getting really great at their props. When I picked up poi, I barely knew what it was. I had no intention of becoming any good at it. I figured it was just a fun physical pastime I'd play with as I worked on a career in the nonprofit sector. But as I was in my first year of spinning, I read a book that completely changed my outlook and eventually my life. That book was called Mastery, and it was written by a guy named George Leonard. The thesis of the book basically breaks down like this. If you're on the road to mastering any given pursuit, you're going to wind up on a plateau for most of that time. So you should learn to love the plateau while still finding new ways to approach this skill. I've tried a lot of things in my life, from drawing comic books to playing music, and I would always reach a point where I just wasn't getting any better. Practicing felt like a slog, and I'd lose my enthusiasm. I figured that was a sign I just wasn't meant to do these things. But after reading this book, I was intrigued and decided to give these techniques a try, and I decided to apply them to learning poi. I cannot overemphasize how arbitrary a moment this was. I was not in the least bit coordinated at all. I was at best mediocre, or just outright horrible at all the physical activities that I had tried growing up. The only reason I picked poi for this experiment was that I just started to do it, but I made the commitment that I was going to practice it regularly for the next 10 years, come hell or high water. And yet, soon enough, it was clear that the work was paying off. I was happy with my progress, but still setting new goals of things I wanted to get done, and that kept me pushing myself and working through the plateaus I hit along the way. I tried other props along the way too, some more seriously than others, but when it came right down to it, the most gratifying thing I found was to continue to fulfill this commitment that I'd made to myself years before. Doing this taught me a few things. The first is that when it comes right down to it, the work of getting good at something isn't external, but internal. There is no right prop for you. There's only the decision to make the commitment to get better at something. The second thing it taught me is that there are going to be good days and bad days as you work on mastering a skill. You have to keep showing up to work on it whether you're jazzed about it or not. There's a long-term fulfillment that comes from making and keeping that commitment to yourself over the years. Eventually, that supersedes how you feel about your practice on a given day. To this day, when someone tries to get me interested in another prop, my first thought is always that I'm afraid it might take time away from my commitment to my poi. No matter what prop you pick up, you will encounter days when training it feels difficult and you have no motivation to do it. There's no skill that you can do, no prop that you can learn that you will not feel unmotivated to practice at some point. Motivation is fickle. Trust instead to discipline and commitment. Tell yourself that you're going to be there practicing every day for the next 5 years and see where it takes you instead. So, short answer, the right prop for you is you yourself. Once you come to master yourself, that is, your ability to make and keep commitments, to continue to practice even in the absence of motivation or enthusiasm, to keep your sights on your long-term goals instead of your short-term excitement, then you'll find the tool is really arbitrary. It's just a vehicle for this kind of self-discovery. Thanks so much for watching. If you got anything out of this video, please hit that like and subscribe button to help my channel grow. Special thanks to all of my awesome supporters on Patreon. You guys are the ones that make these videos possible. If you're not a current backer and would like to sign up to support the work that I do, please go to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi. Thanks again, and peace.